Can you start a podcast with me, please? I need something to do.
Pastrnak sent it out in front for Malkin to save. They score! Elias Lindholm looks to the heavens.
Here's a chance. Patra right in and goal. He scores. Oh my! What a move by the rookie.
2-on-1. Pastrnak moving in with Marchand. Get it to it. Score!
The zone. Coyle dances in. Backhand score!
Lindholm right wing corner. Pastrnak is there. He scores! David Pastrnak wins it for Boston.
Welcome to our latest episode of Bruins Tape to Tape. We are recording on Tuesday evening, January 28th. It's Bruins game night, and they are in the midst of playing the Buffalo Sabres as we record. So I'm going to welcome in my co-host so we can get this episode off and running. Hello, my friend. How are you tonight?
I'm good. I'm ready to get back to watching some hockey. I feel like this week wasn't terrible. I'm feeling optimistic, but these could also be famous last words. So
I'm not using the word optimistic. I'm going to give them credit for having a decent week, and we will talk about those games later on in our episode, but I wanted to do a little table setting before we get started. So as I said, we're going to review the week that was for the Boston Bruins. They had games against the New Jersey Devils, the Ottawa Senators, and the Colorado Avalanche. But in the meantime, we have learned that there may be some reinforcements on the way for the Boston Bruins in the likes of Hampus Lindholm and Charlie McAvoy, who have been spotted at practice with, they've shed their no contact jerseys. And so they are in full practice mode. So hopefully we'll be seeing the two of them making their appearances again here very soon. I want to talk about the goaltending situation and whether or not it may be time for, do we need to do a little load management for Jeremy Swayman? Should Jonas be playing a little bit more? Big question for me as we get closer to the trade deadline, and we can leave this on here. And until then, trade Freddie, extend Geekie. And there's a rationale for that we'll get to, because part of the success that the Bruins have had in some of these games has been due in large part to Morgan Geekie. Mm-hmm. And I'm here to say to everyone that carbs are not a bad thing. And pasta keeps filling our bowls.
The hockey gods, they are fickle. I want to say it. I'm going to say it. I think Pasta is back. I think whatever was going on, he has finally been able to shed that, because in 2.5 months, that man only scored 12 goals. And in the month of January, and we are not done yet, he has scored 12 goals. So, and not just goal scoring, but the points that this man is racking up is insane. He basically went in the span of a month from a bottom dweller in points and in goals, and he has catapulted himself into the top 10 for goal scorers and points. That tells you just how meteoric that rise actually has been. It's unbelievable. To watch him, he's a different player, though. Still, he's not quite what we've been used to. I certainly see him. He's doing more playmaking. I was putting together a little highlight reel to talk about why I'm loving this Pasta and Zacha and Geekie line, and rewatching those highlights. he is playing down low. He's playing behind the net. He's doing more than just standing in his office waiting for somebody to pass him the puck. And I love that. That shows he's a different player.
Growth,
and
maturity, determination, leadership. And it's a great segue into our Around the Rink and NHL news, because last week, Pasta was named third star of the week. This week, he was named number one star of the week.
Number one.
So I'm telling you, keep those carbs coming, baby. Keep those carbs coming, because
absolutely,
this team needs their Pasta, and he's needed in a very big way.
Big time.
Yep. And so this will lead us into our regular segment, folks, of Around the Rink. So we have David Pastrnak being named number one star of the week. The other thing I wanted to touch upon, which I thought was awesome, was I came across this on NHL.com last night, was Dominic Shine at the age of 31, who has been in the AHL for what seems infinity.
Yep.
Made his NHL debut last night and played for his hometown team, the Detroit Red Wings, which I think is just
love it.
An awesome story. Awesome story. Good for him. The other tidbit that I came across on the news feed, which I find, call it Schadenfreude, hysterical. I could have told you so, but Kevin Weeks reported that the Pittsburgh Penguins, or a share of the Pittsburgh Penguins, are up for sale. And who owns the Pittsburgh Penguins? None other than the same people that own the Boston Red Sox. Fenway Sports Group, a.k.a. John Henry, and already his stamp has been left with the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are basically, my understanding, likely going to be having a fire sale come the trade deadline.
They've been trying all season. They put up a for sale sign. All players except Crosby, give us your best offer. Like, that's been out front for months now.
Just when I saw that, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. He's owned the team. When did they play them in the Winter Classic? Because that was the first year. Okay. He's already trying to sell off an interest in the team. You idiot.
He's trying to make room in his portfolio for the Celtics, Maria.
Well, God, I can't. It just can't happen. It just can't happen. I won't freaking allow him to ruin another franchise in the city of Austin. Okay? Jesus, give me a break. So I found that interesting. And in case anyone was worried, everyone's long national nightmare is over. Connor McDavid served his suspension, and all is right with the world again, folks.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. But the other big piece of news was came out of the Vegas Golden Knights, in that Alex Pietrangelo has withdrawn from Team Canada in the Four Nations tournament due to an ailment. Now, it's interesting. They didn't use the word injury. They used the word ailment, which to me is two different things. There hasn't been a lot discussed about that. There's been a lot of discussion about who will replace him in this tournament.
Yep.
But hopefully it's nothing serious or significant that is causing him to have to remove himself from this tournament.
Yeah. And I was listening to Monday's episode of 32 Thoughts, and this came up because, again, to your point, he's not, he's not on IR. He's not blatantly injured. I believe the reasoning was hoping to use that time to rest in preparation for the offseason because maybe he's dealing with something. And so it'll be really interesting. The question was posed and the hosts didn't have an answer because the NHL might be treating this like the All-Star game. And if you recall this kind of obscure rule that if you choose not to participate,
you get suspended.
Right. And so that question has not been answered as of yet, if that's going to be the case. So
we'll keep an eye on that for a variety of reasons if any, news breaks on that. And then the NHL trade market heated up early and in a big way with
holy
moly is right. Blockbuster trade. Looks like the Carolina Hurricanes are doing what the Boston Bruins did, a year, 2 seasons ago, and trying to go all in, right? Trying to go all in. So they struck a deal that brought them Mikko Rantanen and Taylor Hall. And so while maybe the Taylor Hall trade wasn't as shocking to the Chicago Blackhawks, but it seemed, based on the comments made by Nathan MacKinnon, that it was a big shock and a big surprise. And the Bruins might have caught the Avalanche at a good time for their game on Saturday afternoon.
100%. I think the Boston Bruins were the beneficiaries of that particular trade, at least in the short run, because it seems like, again, highly recommend, make sure you have 32 Thoughts on your subscription list to hear about things, especially right now as we're getting ready to go into this trade season. It sounds like basically nobody knew anything, coach included. It's speculated that he maybe had an inkling that it was possible, but not necessarily likely. And I kind of get the sense that this was a very, very high level decision that was made, like Joe Sakic level, because this is my own personal interpretation, even at the GM level, it kind of seemed like this was he did not announce this trade with his whole chest. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So, very interesting.
And Nathan MacKinnon's thoughts and emotions were they were genuine and they were raw. I mean, not only, had he and Mikko played together for a number of years, won a cup together, but they're also friends. Yeah. And, which begs the question of, out of respect, should GMs at least give their senior leaders a heads up? I'm not saying that you should go to them and get input, because that's not their job. Their job is to play hockey. Your job is to make decisions that you think as a GM are in the best interests of the team. Mm-hmm. But out of some modicum of respect, to give your senior leaders, your captains, your assistant captains, your veterans, a little bit of a heads up so that they're not sitting there like a deer in a headlights when they hear about this news, either, from the player or, sometimes on freaking social media.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And I think, the other thing I want to point out about this trade, the initial question that I think a lot of us had was, okay, we get the benefit for Colorado. They got, Necas and Drury. Get the benefit for Carolina. They got Hall and Rantanen. What the heck was Chicago getting out of the deal? And ultimately what ended up happening was Chicago retained some of Rantanen's salary, not Hall's salary. Hall's salary is now being paid by the Carolina Hurricanes. And this may sound insane, but at the end of the day, by taking on that other salary portion, they were actually saving $500,000. Now, that begs the question, what the heck are they doing in Chicago that you feel you need to save $500,000 when your salary cap is $90 million?
And
I don't know.
Going up next. So yeah,
it's going up.
I know.
So
I know.
that makes no sense.
And Taylor Hall has been like, a ping pong ball since he came to us from Buffalo. He's been moved around and traded, and now granted, is anyone going to shed any tears for him? No, he's made a boatload of money, and he's going to a potential cup contender.
That's the other thing, Carolina, I think, is very much so a dark horse in the East, because I think there's so much going on. There's so much chaos in the East right now that I don't think anyone's paying attention to Carolina. Like, no, they weren't even on my radar.
Shots, and I don't think anyone has woken up and, or maybe they're deciding, they're not going to pull blockbuster trades like that. I don't know, but it just doesn't seem like anyone is responding yet in kind to what Carolina just did.
Yep. Oh, wow.
Well, we'll see what happens. I love trades like this. These are the kinds of trades that make the trade deadline fun to track. These are legit hockey trades, right? And as we get closer, we'll talk about the implications for the Bruins in terms of buying, selling, or what they should do, if anything, or do we want this management team doing anything with the upcoming trade deadline. But before we dive into the Bruins week that was and what our expectations are for the upcoming games, including tonight's game, we're going to take a little break and hear from our sponsor. Playoffs. We're talking about playoffs. You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple, like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms.
Welcome back, folks, and thank you to our sponsors for supporting us. So, since our last episode, Bruins had 3 games. A loss to the New Jersey Devils by a score of 5-1, and it wasn't even that close. It was just...
Yeah.
It was just one of those games we've seen one too many times this season, which prompted me to say in one of our snapshots or the snapshots episode for this specific game that there were 2 things that I could say that I knew for certain regarding the Boston Bruins. Not knowing what you get from game to game and the fact that they don't have the ability to beat top tier teams in the league.
Uh-huh.
We had a 2-0 victory against Ottawa and a 3-1 win against the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah.
So they did redeem themselves in those 2 games. And right now, tonight, they are facing the Buffalo Sabres. So before we go back to review what the games they played last week, what do you think is going to happen tonight, my friend?
Maria, I am so glad you asked. And boy, listeners, you're going to wish you were watching this on YouTube. I have here a spinny wheel, and we're going to see what's going to happen tonight. What's going to sink this team.
So we have a little like Price is Right wheel, folks, because we're so
it's on the line.
It's on the line. We just can't figure out this team. So we just decided that we'll just spin the wheel at this point to see what the hell happens.
Looks
so where
like
are we landing?
Looks like we're going to see a team with no urgency.
Mark that one down, folks. Mark that one down.
Write that down.
Because how many
times
next week and we'll spin
it again.
We'll spin it again. Yeah. That might be how we make determinations about the Boston Bruins moving forward, because we might as well spin a flipping wheel, because that's the kind of season it's been. And where I know, you can say it if you want, I know they got their asses kicked against the Devils. They won 2 games. They played 2 good games. They played both of those games with a sense of urgency. But I am no longer going to say this season that I think they've turned a corner.
No. Not at all. I mean, again, individual players have, but as a team, as a whole, I don't think at any point, I mean, it's almost February. This is the team. This is the team. This is how they're playing their games. Take your pick from the wheel, and to prove that I'm not the pessimist. Because again, if you've been listening to us for a while, I'm the optimist. I do have.
Are you calling me a pessimist?
I do. Yes,
because I am.
I do have actually show up on the wheel. That's the only really great one. But some of these are worse than others.
But we see what they are capable of.
Yeah.
When now we'll have the Avalanche game is different because it was an utter snooze fest until the third period. Like there was no energy on the ice. There was no energy in the building. The Bruins, they mustered a whole 8 shots on goal in 2 periods in that game. They were outshot against Buffalo already tonight, 10-5 in the first period. So, are we going back to quality over? All right. Is quality over quantity on that wheel?
No.
Because that's another catchphrase that we've heard. Okay.
No, but being outshot 5-1 is on the wheel. I have to say the Bruins it was an interesting week because, as much as we're kind of laying it thick on them, if you take away the New Jersey game, it was a good week. Okay.
Yes.
It was a good week.
Point-wise, playoff standing wise, it was a good week.
Right.
Okay.
They came back.
Energy, yep. They came from behind against Colorado. I don't know that they've done that this season. Nor do I.
They were behind.
Do we feel that they were capable of coming from behind in that game?
What I'll say, what felt different about that game was it was a snooze fest from both teams. I think, in the first period, I think Colorado was very distracted, rightly so. Boston just doing its thing, not showing up to the game on time. The second period, you had the Avalanche really coming back. And I think what was different to see, and it took me a while to realize that this is what I was seeing, was the fact that it was very much so a bend but don't break period, in that there were a lot of opportunities that Colorado had, and somehow it felt in the moment, by some miracle, it wasn't that Colorado, missed a shot wide, made a mistake. Like, they were good. Somehow the Bruins were just barely keeping up.
Mm-hmm.
They were actually performing the job just well enough. And we actually haven't seen that, because if they've been up against a team like Colorado, or any team that's just, taking them to task in the second period, Boston often can't get out of its own way. They make mistakes, and they make it worse for themselves. That's quite literally what happened in New Jersey. They made a couple
wheels
mistakes.
fall off the bus. They fall off the bus quickly.
And they go down
in a catastrophic way.
Yeah. And so that was very different in this particular game. And then they just showed up for the third period, and that was the game. Holy moly.
Who showed up, though? Who showed up? And I'm not taking away anything from the rest of the team.
Yeah.
But in my mind, right, David Pastrnak, Morgan Geekie, and Pavel Zacha, they took matters into their own hands in that third period.
And at the end, after taking the lead, we saw Brad Marchand and Charlie Coyle.
They were beasts
to close it out.
Right. They were beasts.
Those are the guys who should be doing that. And
so you felt good about that period up until that point, right? Yeah. You weren't feeling that great. I mean, what you're feeling really good about, in my mind right now, is your goaltending.
Yeah.
Because I think both guys are on top of their game.
Yep.
And the Ottawa game, Jonas Korpisalo was awesome.
Real.
Awesome.
Real.
Awesome effort by Jonas Korpisalo.
Yep. Yeah. And I really, again, Jeremy Swayman only played 2 periods of hockey against the New Jersey Devils. I think it ended up working in Korpisalo's favor that he had to play that third period.
Yes.
Because we did see some of that rust the week prior. And, you talked a little bit about at what point do we start talking about load management? And when looking
I think he needs more time. I think he needs more time.
So right now, Connor Hellebuyck has played 39 games. He leads the league in goaltenders in games played. Vasilevsky, Saros, and Montembeault have all played 37. And then you've got a group that has played 36, and that's where Jeremy Swayman falls. So he's played this, he's tied for third most games played for starting goaltenders. And, if we were already maybe 2 years into this contract, I would say he's good, keep going. But again, you have to remember that this is his first year as the guy, as the starting goaltender. And you don't want to burn him out, and you don't want to, wreck him. So I do think we're going to be getting to a point where it might be a good idea, at least for some period of time, where they scale back a little bit, and kind of ease off.
I just worry about, when you have the opportunity to give Swayman a rest, but if Korpisalo hasn't seen any game action in, 7 to 10 days, of course there's a concern that, and again, points are at premiums here. We've talked about how fickle the Eastern Conference is right now. And, it's anybody's game, either, for the top spots, wild card spots. Like, these teams are all bunched up, separating, the Washington Capitals or even the Carolina Hurricanes, but everybody else is just
all
climbing over each other. So, I do get a little worried about Swayman's workload and Korpisalo's lack of workload.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's mutually beneficial to see Korpisalo going from, the 7 to 10 day rest down to, I don't know, 5 to 7 days or more 7 days, because he's also better when he plays a little bit more frequently.
I think so. I mean,
he's really good,
right? Yeah.
He is good.
Yes, he is good. I mean, he's shown us that he can be good. Right. Is he a number one franchise goalie? No, of course not.
Not for Boston, at least.
Not for Boston. Maybe someplace else.
Right.
But I'm looking ahead at the schedule here, because I mean, again, And
the other thing is, don't forget, I mean, how much is he going to play? I don't know. But Jeremy Swayman is on Team USA. Now,
I've heard projections that he's not going to see much playing time.
I can't imagine that he will.
Which is not beneficial to him. So he's going to go, right? Again, the tournament is literally in our backyard, his backyard, right? And travel is not extensive. You're either going to Montreal or you're going to Boston, right? But the fact that you're not active, right? They'll have practice.
Would he have how active would he have been on vacation for the CBA break?
Yeah.
He'll probably actually get more active time just from practice.
Yeah.
Potentially. But I am in agreement. I think, it's Hellebuck's net to lose, and Jake Ottinger is going to do everything he possibly can to challenge Hellebuck for that spot. And he's the only one.
These guys they're competitive. They're going there, right? And they're going to want to play, and they're all going to make a case for getting in to a game in some way, shape, or form, right? So it'll be interesting to see how Swayman comes away from this tournament, and how he's looking,
and how they manage him.
Season, gets back and going again.
They're just going to have to be super careful from here on out, or at least from after the CBA break until the end of the season, because it's very delicate balance in making sure that your goaltender is in the right shape for playoffs without having him use up all of his gas too soon.
And for those of us who are fans, right, we enjoy these events to a good degree, but the reality is we want our players to come back in one piece, healthy and ready to pick up where they left off for the, with their season. So,
not like last year. Coming back from that break was horrible.
Yeah. And again, with this year's Boston Bruins, there's no figuring out how they're going to come back and what kind of or energy or mindset they're all going to have. I did hear some interesting comments from Nikita Zadorov. Was it after? Can't remember if it was after the Ottawa game or the Avs game where he was being asked, it was part of the media scrum, and basically, said, well, you're the ones that are all, you're the ones that are all writing us off. I know this, I know what's in this room. We want to be playing in front of the fans in the TD Garden in the playoffs. We want the building to be, things of that nature, to which my response was, all right, well, put your money where your mouth is, dude. Like
play the man, not the puck.
Right. It's nice. These are all nice things to say, but show me on the ice. Okay.
Yep.
Show me on the ice and show me consistently. All right.
Yep.
Show me consistently. And I'm not sure how, a team can play period after period with a sense of urgency. That takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of energy, but
right.
I don't know how you're going to put yourself in a viable playoff position if you don't adopt that mindset moving forward. Like the mindset from the Ottawa Senators game. That game was a very high energy, entertaining hockey game. You could tell that the Boston Bruins knew that the stakes were extremely high for that game.
Yep.
Can you bring that into all of your remaining games?
Right. Well, and this is where, we put out on our socials another little highlight video of how we just can't trust this team, because one minute they're doing all these great things, we're like, yay, and then the next minute they don't show up and you're like, oh my God, why did I put so much of my mental health into this team? But another thing that again, optimist here, another thing that they did differently than they have in the past, which is a positive. The last time that the Bruins were completely embarrassed out on the ice was against the Winnipeg Jets, right? When they were out there. Horrible, horrible game. Embarrassing. They then went to Seattle and they couldn't get a win. They could not respond, right? They did this time. And I don't know if it was how much to put into this as like, okay, that woke them up and that was a kick in the pants that they needed. Or if it was simply the back-to-back game bounce, which is a thing when they have back-to-backs, right? And we saw that when they lost embarrassingly to Carolina. And then I think they went to Philadelphia and they won, right? So needless to say, we don't know still what team is ever going to show up. Sometimes they do the things that we're like, yes, keep doing that. Do that again tomorrow. And then they don't. And then we cry ourselves to sleep. Or fall asleep watching.
Or fall asleep watching. We still don't know what the identity of this team is. And I'm not even sure that we're going to be able to figure it out.
This, whatever this is.
It is what it is, right? I hate using, phrases like that, but they are what they are. It is what it is. And, we can only hope that they understand. And I'm sure that they do. They don't need the likes of you or I telling them that.
Right.
I'm sure they check the standings. I'm sure they're very well aware of, what works well, what doesn't work well. But I'm not sure they're built for sustained long-term success this season. I want to be proven wrong. I would love to be proven wrong. There's nothing better than sitting at the TD Garden.
Yeah.
In May and June, right?
Yeah.
But we also have to be real. We base our assessments on what we've seen. This is now no longer, they're not small sample sizes, which is why, I'm glad they won against Ottawa and the Abs. They did what they needed to do because points are at a premium right now.
Yes. Yeah. This season is not going to end with a doodlebug race. where nobody seems to want that last spot.
No,
If
no,
anything,
it's going to be a race it's going to be one of those, Kentucky Derby photo finishes kind of races this year, at least in the East.
Yep. I mean, in the span of a week, we've seen the Bruins be 2 spots out of the playoffs. We've seen them literally then be in the 3rd spot in the division and then be in both the 1st and 2nd wild card in a week. Not just because of what they themselves were doing out on the ice, but because of what other teams were doing in their own games, impacting
and we're looking
the
at
Bruins
scores going, oh, I hope so-and-so beat the Lightning. Oh, it'd be nice if so-and-so beat the Ottawa Senators. And what world are we living in that we're doing this right
We're
now?
dependent on the outcome of other games.
Right.
And it's not just us. It's us and 5 other teams in this exact same roller coaster ride. So it's a little stressful. It is
a little stressful. And we'll talk about next week's episode. I think in addition to the upcoming games that the Bruins have. So we have the Sabres game tonight. Then they face the Winnipeg Jets at home on Thursday night, and hopefully there will be some sort of redemption after the Winnipeg Jets just slapped them silly when they played them in Winnipeg. Was that an 8-1?
It was an 8-1 loss.
Yes, an 8-1 beatdown. And then things don't get any easier for the Bruins after that because they play the Rangers in a matinee game. Then they face the Minnesota Wild. And then they go to face the Rangers at MSG. So, the Bruins path is not an easy one. And the Rangers have started to turn a bit of a corner as well. So they're in the same boat that you're in. So those should be feisty. I would think and hope feisty games coming up. But we'll talk about also some trade deadlines stuff and, what we should or shouldn't do. But give me your thoughts on, with these 3 games, stick taps and overall penalty box.
I mean, I think in terms of the penalty box, everything in that 60 minutes against New Jersey, that entire thing, the entire team, that was just horrible. That was just, everybody sucked. Nobody was good.
I'll give them the first period where...
Yeah, okay, yeah. All right, yeah.
Okay, I'll give them the first period.
All right.
But then once the wheels fell off the bus...
It was just a disaster.
What a freaking disaster.
It was a disaster.
Yeah, total disaster.
But on the flip side, the stick taps, there, outside of that, there was, like I said, this was a good week. We saw our goaltenders just really show up and make some phenomenal sequences, in the New Jersey game. We saw Andrew Peak play out there for almost 4 minutes.
4-minute shift.
Almost a 4-minute shift. He got stuck out there. Zadorov was out there for about 3:15 with him and then was able to get off the ice. But
sometimes I don't even want him out there for 30 seconds, let alone that long.
And then in that time when Peak was out there, Jeremy Swayman was facing 4 minutes basically of uninterrupted shots.
It was
and
like
shot attempts.
Watching an arcade game.
Right. So, I mean, hat tip to him because he at least delayed the inevitable. He did everything he could possibly do. And, we're in a situation where at this point, it seems like perhaps the haze of that malaise, that fog has maybe lifted at least from him. And, he's not contributing to any of the crap that's in front of him, so
giving him a chance to win, which is
right.
Which is what you want your franchise goalie to do.
Right. And you can see that in his statistics that while his goals against average in the month of January kind of got a little bit worse. His save percentage actually was pretty steady and maintained, if not continued to improve, because in spite of all of these teams just absolutely hammering the Bruins with their shot attempts, he was stopping a lot of, like, Florida had over 100 attempts. So, that's what he was facing up against. Again, stick tap, Morgan Geekie. My God.
I mean, just
when are we gonna get hear the news of his signing and his offer? Because
apparently there have been no conversations, and here's what I'll say about that, because I can't talk out of both sides of my mouth, right? As much as he has been a critical component of the Bruins winning the game against the Senators and the Avs, myself, I'm not sure that I want Don Sweeney making any decisions or determinations on this roster or about this roster until you see how the season plays out, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I get that.
If you want to trade Freddie, Donnie, you go right ahead and do that.
Yeah.
Because I'll give you a golf clap if you trade him and get something in return. If you're not going to sign him, or you haven't signed him, and you haven't had any conversations about signing him, all right, don't do another Jake DeBrusk. Okay? You can't, you just cannot let another guy walk and not get something in return.
Yep. Right.
And I say that, but then I say to myself, do I want him making that decision? I don't know anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
But Morgan Geekie has been solid, and the more he plays with Pasta and Zacha, what is the one thing that I know I had been railing on early in the season with these lines? No chemistry, no chemistry, no chemistry.
There's chemistry now.
There's chemistry now, man. And it's good. And it's working. Yep.
And I love that he's getting these first line minutes, because when he joined the team 2 years ago, I wrote an article, and it's on our Substack, so you should check it out, that this was a guy who had a lot of potential, and he would only get better if you gave him more minutes. And that's exactly what he did last year. And then, this year, his sophomore year with the Bruins, it didn't start out great. But he turned it around, and now he's playing first line minutes, and he's just getting better and better and better, because that's the kind of player that he is. That's how he operates. So, and then, coupled with him, obviously David Pastrnak, like,
unbelievable what he's been doing. Up. And honestly, he's, I know I put this in our agenda notes, and we can have this conversation when we have more time, but is he the true leader of this Bruins team? Because we've been questioning leadership all season long, right? We've been questioning it, and rightfully or wrongfully so. Yeah. But the way that he has elevated his game since the start of 2025,
he's definitely, I think, firmly in the, at least in my, you can keep your A on your sweater. And I like the A on Charlie Coyle.
I do too.
But
the one that I have questions about, and I've mentioned it before, is number 73.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Show me that you should have that A.
Yeah. The other penalty box thing that I forgot to mention, whatever this stinking bug is that's ripping through this locker room, my God, they are dropping like flies.
Well, I saw something.
Not just for the Boston Bruins, because it's like every week there's about 2 guys who fall to whatever the heck this thing is. But it's across the league, and there's a hilarious tweet out there. I think you probably were even the one who posted it in our Discord from John Tortorella, who canceled Morning State, I think yesterday.
They're puking as they're coming out on the ice.
Half the team didn't show up, and the other half was in the locker room beforehand throwing up. So at least they got it all out of their system in one go as a team.
Might as well let it run its course. Yeah, might as well let it run its course. Holy moly.
It's that time of year. What can I say?
Right. Currently, as we speak, the Bruins are behind in the game.
Excellent. Well,
so what was the results of our little wheel? What was the expectation? Where did it land?
No urgency.
Yeah, based on what I'm seeing coming through social media, the board, our wheel may be correct.
Yeah.
So we
don't want that.
Oh my God. With that, we will wrap up this episode. I just want to give a shout out to one of our followers on X. He follows me on my personal account. He follows our show account. He's always very positive, very supportive. Is always, giving us some good feedback on our snapshots and our episodes. And that's my friend Or Forever. So thank you. Thank you for supporting us and for cheering us on.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Maria, I can't believe our time has come to an end. Do you have any final thoughts? I think that says it all.
Is my sigh enough based on what I'm seeing right now, on the NHL Game Center? It's just the way this season has been going. And I think I said it earlier. It is what it is.
Yep. Well, as always, Bruins fans, make sure you like and review our podcast to help us reach other listeners, and subscribe to all of our social media channels, Tape to Tape MK. And as always, go Bees!
Go Bees!